head on over to second base and talk about some spring training storylines. A lot of them still going on. Ketel Marte. Ketel Marte signs an extension with the Diamondbacks. Now, why is this a big deal? Well, Ketel Marte is one of the most underrated players in the game of baseball. Hands down, easily. Big reason of it is he plays for the Diamondbacks. But he signs an extension, he gets his deal done, 5 years, $76 million, which I think is a steal. If Ketel Marte is doing in New York, LA, Atlanta, Houston, Boston, Chicago, a lot of other places than Arizona, he's getting the credit he deserves, and he's making well over $100 million. I firmly believe that. But he's underrated. He's out in Arizona for a team that hasn't been very good for a while. This is a great, great deal for them. Kudos to the Diamondbacks for getting this done. Ketel Marte is a great player. And if you can, watch him at some point. A lot of people have been doing top lists, as we're doing right now, because it's preseason. It's fun to talk about who's going to be great this year. Ketel Marte, you can put on that list at a plethora of positions, a cornucopia of positions, if you will. The guy's a super utility guy and does it really well at multiple spots. Good pickup, good extension there for the Diamondbacks. Next up, Aaron Judge. Aaron Judge of the New York Yankees. Aaron Judge is a New York Yankee. We've talked about this a few times this spring because there's not a lot of players that you think like this is their team. Freddie Freeman with the Atlanta Braves was one we talked about for a while. He's on the move. Aaron Judge is a New York Yankee. And he potentially will not be on the move. The New York Yankees are going to offer him an extension. This had been long talked about. Even in spring training, Aaron Judge said, I want to be here my whole career, but they haven't reached out to me. They haven't even spoken to me about an extension. But the Yankees are planning on offering him a multi-year extension, and that is going to be for a lot of cash. A lot of money is coming for Aaron Judge. He's a figure. He's right fielder for the New York Yankees. He wears number 99. He's 6 foot, a million. He's larger than life, and he does it right in New York. He's going to get a lot of money. Brian Cashman says there will be no contract extension talks with Aaron Judge during the season per Judge's request. It's either resolved and out of the way or resolved on the opposite end, and we'll do a 1-year play it out. That's what Brian Cashman said on his talks about an extension with Aaron Judge. Both parties want to get it done, okay? Both parties want to get this done. Aaron Judge has been vocal about wanting to get it done. Cashman has come out and said one way or the other, we want to get it done on either side. And now it came out that they are going to offer him a multi-year extension before the season starts. So we'll see if that comes to be. But in my opinion, Aaron Judge is going to be a New York Yankee. And he's going to be a New York Yankee for a long time. And he's going to make a lot of money doing it. But more storylines for you. Next up, Luke Voit. Luke Voit, previously of the New York Yankees, is heading to San Diego. He is now a San Diego Padres. He's in San Diego. And look, I actually really like this a lot for Luke Voit. And I've been talking about this a good bit over the last couple of weeks because we've seen some players on the move that I think could really benefit. Now, Luke Voit is leaving New York and going to San Diego. Luke Voit has a big personality. I mean, he's very confident. He believes in himself. He's vocal about it. And if you remember, in 2020, the shortened season, he led the league in home runs. He led the league in home runs. So he comes back into spring the following year with a renewed sense of confidence, even higher than it ever was. And from that point on, it just never really worked out in New York, I'd say. It never really, took off on that wave that he was on and propelled him to the next level that we all thought he was going to be. He kind of struggled a little bit. He showed potential. And then they bring in Anthony Rizzo, and he's pissed off about that. And now this offseason, they sign Anthony Rizzo to a multi-year deal. And it's kind of like, well, the writing's on the wall for Luke Voit. What's going to happen? He ends up getting moved to San Diego, where I think will be a great fit for him. Look, this team is totally different than the Yankees. San Diego is totally different. It's a laid back, a laid back, fun, exciting. Look at the guys on that team. Tatis just plays with so much energy. I think he's going to fit in well there. I really do. And then Luke Voit was on a podcast or on the radio talking recently. And listen to what he said about the Yankees, just about the entire situation right now. He said, Yankee Stadium is not a hitter's park. He's excited for a speedy lineup instead of big donkeys. So he went on to say more, but let's break this down. One, Yankee Stadium is not a hitter's park. Look. I get what you're saying. The gaps get really deep. But if you are a major league player playing in a stadium that is basically 310 feet down the lines, come on. You can't come out and say it's not a hitter's park. You can pop up a ball to right field and it'll get out. You can pull a line drive down the line and it'll get out. Now, there are deep parts of the park, but I don't know. Just seems like a bold thing to say. Then he said he's not in a lineup. He's excited to be in a lineup with speedy guys and not big donkeys. I mean, he's a big donkey. He's certainly not a speedy guy. So maybe, look, I really think for the Padres, this is a perfect fit. He's going to be great there, I think. He's also glad he didn't get traded to Oakland and the shaving rule didn't affect him much because his beard sucks. But he said, because his beard sucks. But he said he's glad he didn't get traded to Oakland, who's making a million trades, because he's used to being on winning teams. He's always been on winning teams. Okay, look, I'm excited for Luke Voit. I'm excited for the Padres. I think it's going to be a great fit. How can you say you've always been on winning teams? Because their record was above 500? Is that winning? If you ask Yankee fans, when was the last time we won? If you say, when was the last time the Yankees won? To Yankees fans, they wouldn't say, 2021, we had a winning record. No, you're not on a winning team if you're just above 500 and make it to the wild card game and then lose. Not a winning team. But I think the Padres have a much better year than they did last year. I think something fell apart for the Padres. I don't know what it was. We saw a lot going on in the dugout, but that stuff happens all the time. I think Bob Melvin stepping in as their manager will be great. I think the team will be much improved, and I think adding Luke Voit into that lineup will be great for them. So good move all around. Just a funny interview from Luke Voit on the radio that I wanted to talk about. But good move for him and the Padres. Next up, another storyline. Cody Bellinger. This is a tough one. I like Cody Bellinger, and I want him to be really, really good. I want him to be back to his form of his MVP season. The reality of that situation is he's not. And it's not looking like that is happening this year either. He really, really, really struggled last year. Bad. Now, I get it. There were injuries. There was a shoulder thing. There was a lot going on with him. But the stats are the stats. He didn't have a good year. He gets into the playoffs. And when I say he didn't have a good year, Cody Bellinger last year was awful. It was a really bad year. Not what we think of as Cody Bellinger. Then they get into the playoffs, and he's back. Cody Bellinger. This is the Cody Bellinger that the Dodgers had been missing. He was back in the playoffs. He played great. So then the offseason comes, and you think, okay, there was a very large sample size of him not being very good, and a small sample size of, is Cody Bellinger back? Fast forward to this spring training, where we are right now. As it sits, Cody Bellinger is 3 for 22 in spring training. 3 for 22, a 136 batting average with 15 strikeouts. 22 at-bats, 15 strikeouts. Look, this is another small sample size, but tack that on to a really struggling last year. This is cause for concern. If I'm Dodgers fans, I felt good about Cody Bellinger coming out of the playoffs and the playoff run. But seeing this, you get a week into spring training, and it's like, okay, like it's still early. You get to 22 at-bats in, and he's punched out 15 times. That's cause for alarm. That's cause for alarm. Here's what Dave Roberts said about the situation, his manager. Dave Roberts on Cody Bellinger, who had 4 strikeouts tonight and 14 Ks and 19 spring at-bats. So this is a day before the last prior game. Dave Roberts said, "Tonight was the first time I felt like things sped up on him. We just got to get back to work and keep grinding." Roberts said, as of now, Bellinger's regular season role isn't in danger. This isn't going to help. This isn't going to help the situation. I promise you there's a lot mental going on here. Baseball is the most mentally grueling game there is. Why? Because you play it every single day. It's 162 games. It's a grind in itself. And if you start struggling, it snowballs. So starting to struggle here is not a good sign. And then you have your manager coming out and basically saying, "I am worried. This is the first day that I am officially worried about Cody Bellinger. As of right now, his role is fine." None of that is going to add confidence to where Cody Bellinger is. I'm worried about him. As a fan of baseball, I want Cody Bellinger to be great. He's a fantastic defender. He's a guy that hits for a lot of power, a good average, drives the ball the other way, big energy. I'm hoping for better from Cody Bellinger this year. Just a little scary what's happening this spring training. A little bit scary. Thanks for watching. If you love flipping bats, swinging 3-0, or just talking ball, join us. Call us at 213-537-9339 with your questions. We have a weekly guest, and we have a lot of fun, so hit that subscribe button.